Hi everyone, it's Desert Rose. This is going to be a couple of videos. Well, I'm going to make a couple of videos tonight. So you're gonna see me looking like this in the same spot. I'm not sitting on the couch because I do dangerous things with my phone because it has better camera quality, but it's on a couple of things and I was a bit too high being on this couch. So I'm down here. And by the way, do you like this couch? I don't think it matches as much as my old one, but it's bigger. It's from given to us by my mother-in-law. So it's very comfy, just leaning on it. This is going to be a video about, I'm still thinking, I'll do my story time videos first. So I'm going to tell you guys about how I've been seeing fairies in a different form. So if you've watched previous videos, there's this one specific video where I go more in depth about fairies, their likes, dislikes, and all that. I have that on this channel that I redid on this channel because I had it on my older channel, which turned into more of a reading channel that I haven't really been updating. But I was talking about in that video about how I see the Fae, which is more of seeing the silhouette of them because the color of them is charcoal black. So they say that they come to you in that form sometimes for some people because we're not pure. And I knew that they weren't flies because, again, of their silhouette, and they're much bigger than flies. So a little bit of the backstory. This happened over the weekend, this past weekend. I'm not going to go into too much detail about this because I don't want to make this channel about that, but somebody wasn't in agreement about my practice, and being currently living beneath the Bible Belt because my husband's here, but we're moving back to Salem, so I'm so excited for that I keep myself more reserved, but the person found out and they wanted answers, but they didn't really want answers because they already had a premeditated answer to what they already saw me as, or what my practice was to them. So I would have to say this was one of the proudest moments of me being a witch because I stood my ground. I was being as respectful as I could, or I was respectful because I never raised my voice, and I didn't try to convert or demean them in any way. So it was important for me to really set an example, especially for all of the other witches, because there are so many stereotypes in the modern day, and for a lot of things. There are a lot of stereotypes for different things. So I didn't want that. I didn't want that impression to be left. So as this felt like an ambush, so I kept getting asked questions, and I was like, you know what, in my head, she wants answers, so I'll just go with it. And I basically was talking about my goddess because I do have my main goddess is the Morgan, and she is the queen of the Fae, which is what I said. I do believe that I am the daughter of the Morgan, but I didn't say this until really, really later in the conversation, because it wasn't really a conversation. And I said that I worked a lot with the Fae, so that was what it was. And as bummed out about this conversation as I was afterwards, um, I knew that it was just more of a bump in the road because there's going to be a lot of that if I ever came out like that down here. Which luckily my husband and I are more to ourselves together. Um, and I went home. My husband and I came home. I went into my witchy room that night and I felt smiles. I felt satisfaction and happiness from my goddesses in my witchy room because I have their altars there. Especially from the Morgan because I did mention her, and it was like a proud moment because I knew that they were satisfied. And so I felt like this way ever since then because I felt like it was more of confirmation on my path and more of a test. And I really do feel like the progress with moving to Salem is going to be coming more quickly, especially with the card that I got the next day. So I went to my bed, and I do have a nightstand which does serve as an altar too. I don't have as much stuff on there just because it's more multifunctional and smaller. My altars are generally larger, so I can work on it even if I do have quite a lot of things on there, or some things on there, depending on what the altar is. So one of the things I have on my nightstand is a lamp with feathers. And a little side note again, because I always do side notes and backstories to backstories. So I used to wear feathers in my hair, but now that my hair is more, I guess, put together, not really put together, but I wake up with it and it's nice and it's just, I don't have to do a lot with it. So besides my bun, I have feathers on my lamp, and a fairy was playing with the feathers, and it was so sweet. It came to me in a different form. It was more brown. I am going to narrow it down by what I know and the characteristics that I've seen of the fae that I saw. So it was brown. It had a fuller stomach, and it looked more like tube type of stomach. Like it was fuller as you got down. Like there was shape to the fairy, and the head was a little larger. I should have done a picture or drawn up something for this video, but I didn't. And the arms and legs were very skinny but long, and they had bigger hands and feet. He had bigger hands and feet. So I just felt it was such a proud moment. I'm sorry, I'm just going to check the time. In my practice, because I really felt like they trusted me as a practitioner, and also having other lives as a fairy. It really gives validation not only of my other lives, but my path, what I'm doing with myself and my path. So and lately I've been having other things in terms of me visiting other realms in my dream and other planes, which I may get into that in another video. Mainly recent ones. I feel like the Scorpio in my chart really affects me deeply, or it really comes out a lot. Certain characteristics and what things that I'm drawn to. So although I'm a Libra sun, half of my chart is in Scorpio. So I dream a lot about water, and I know that there could be an emotional aspect to it, but I do really, now that I've gone through it so many times, I can really differentiate when it's like that and when I'm visiting other places. So yesterday I dreamt that I was and a different type of marshland. Um, it definitely gets like an alternate type of, had an alternate look to it, because there wasn't, it was mainly more of like types of ponds, you know, of a marsh, but it was mainly sand, not like it wasn't underdeveloped or it was things out of the area were being taken away. It was just how it was. And in the dream, I was really excited. I usually am very enthusiastic, way more than I am in person, as you can see. I don't really have much expression to my face, but I was running to the water or the area where other beings were, and I noticed that the ground is moving, well, beneath me. So I was seeing that people were kind of yelling, well, and they were the sand was turning into like molehills, and they were clustering up together, and they were moving. Some of them would just go down again, and then they would go up, and then they would combine in different things. So at first I was running because I never experienced that before in this life, or this plane. Or realm. So I was like, I can't run away from this, so I might as well go with it, as I do a lot in life. So the hills were forming underneath me, and they were lifting me, and I was getting higher and higher. And it was an invigorating experience because, well, one, I didn't know was going on, but it was more of an adventure too. But then other places I did see other creatures. So what I described, the sand forming where I wasn't, was kind of like hamster wheels, because they were round, but the inside was bare boned. So there were some beings inside, but they were being chased by these grassy rhino looking creatures. They didn't look very scary to me, I guess because I wasn't being chased by them, but that was one of them. And it was funny, just checking the time again, that in the beginning, well, I would confide in my best friend, Sherry. She lives in New England, where, that's where I met her. And she is like a mom to me, because she would help me so much. We were in the same apartment building. But how it was like a house, and they had 3 floors. One was like the top floor, and there was only one apartment, but then one across the other. So it was like a row house. And I was telling her my dreams, and she's like, well, if you're always so tiny in your dreams and everything's so much bigger, maybe you're just a fairy. Well, maybe you are a fairy in your dreams. And I'm like, that makes so much sense, because the trees that I would see were so humongous. It's not just like the growth that you get just looking up. It was like you were in a world full of trees. And I saw houses in an abandoned house, and it was so much bigger than I was, and it felt way more immaculate than if I were to go in a mansion. Or sometimes I would be flying, and it would be up a flower, so I would see the stem and I would go up, but then I would see the bottom of the flower, and the flower was huge. And I do, as a clairvoyant, I do have some things come to me, mainly from my third eye. So I close my eyes, and that's when I get the beings that pop up. So I saw this, mainly this little boy. He was from the fairy realm. He was on a horse. He was like on his side, just looking at me, holding onto the horse and smiling. Very blue eyes, had a wavy look, more of a potato sack looking colored attire on. And then a few moments after seeing him, I saw his mother. So those are just a couple of experiences, mainly in relations to the Fae. So that should be good for now because I am actually going to do a third video that I'm going to do quickly because I have so many pictures on my phone and they're of the same things because I try to get a good snapshot, especially of my cards, and post it. And so I have multiples of those and I really need to erase them. And plus I've been downloading tarot and oracle apps, which I've been thoroughly enjoying, and I may do a video about it because they're really helpful to have, especially if you don't have the deck and you want to check it out. And if you're a tarot reader like I am, you want to get other input, or just for anybody that wants input from an outer party. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that it wasn't too rambly as I usually am. I'll see you guys in the next video if you're watching that one.